Ukraine's deep strikes ignite nationwide blackouts as Russia faces $350 million collapse. Today, Russia has reached a moment that military and economic analysts say could reshape the entire course of the war. With strikes now hitting deep inside the country, Ukraine has forced the Kremlin to confront a wave of internal failures that experts estimate has already translated into more than $350 million in economic and infrastructural damage in a matter of days. Power stations, oil refineries, and critical substations have been set ablaze while Moscow's residents shelter in basements, describing chaos they never expected to witness. As Russia scrambles to respond, one question emerges: how did this collapse begin? To understand this, we must start from the first moment the panic broke out. At 6:10 p.m., students in a Moscow technical college were already rushing into a basement, recording scenes of fear as they tried to understand what was happening above them. The ventilation system had suddenly shut down, and the building staff ordered everyone into corridors and stairwells. Above ground, explosions echoed across the capital as air defense guns opened fire. Witnesses said the blasts came from multiple directions as drones streaked low across the Moscow region. Many students filmed the rumble of detonations, describing how the walls vibrated while the air defense network fired continuously. Minutes later, residents in nearby districts stepped onto balconies to see columns of smoke rising from what they believed to be a major factory complex. They reported flames spreading rapidly, with emergency crews struggling to approach the site. In one recording, a woman shouted to her family to get into the hallway as another impact shook their building. She pointed to a dark plume rising from behind the rooftops, saying the strike came from the direction of a power facility. Another resident reported hearing small arms fire, likely machine gun crews attempting to hit drones passing overhead. By 6:25 p.m., air defense batteries were still firing across Moscow. According to eyewitnesses, the fire came not only from stationary systems, but also from truck-mounted guns that had been positioned near apartment districts. These improvised anti-aircraft deployments reflected how overstretched Moscow's traditional defenses had become after months of long-range drone strikes. Videos from the capital showed tracer rounds arcing upward in multiple bursts as gunners tried to track fast-moving drones weaving between high-rises. At the same time, reports came from Zelenograd describing urgent evacuations of university buildings. Students were ordered into basements after a strike ignited a facility believed to belong to one of the region's largest industrial enterprises. Witnesses described how the explosion was followed by a secondary fireball, suggesting fuel or chemicals stored on site had ignited. Local authorities confirmed only that an incident occurred, while residents posted footage of heavy black smoke rising along the skyline. By 6:40 p.m., alarms were being heard across districts north of Moscow. Residents said the sky was filled with the sound of anti-aircraft fire, and some posted videos showing drones passing overhead at low altitude. According to local accounts, several drones approached the capital from unexpected directions, bypassing older radar systems. Observers noted that this pattern indicated not only a weakness in detection, but also a possible coordinated Ukrainian tactic aimed at overwhelming defenses by approaching from multiple vectors. Simultaneously, inside Moscow, a critical thermal power plant suffered a significant strike. This attack mirrored earlier Ukrainian operations against substations in the Moscow region, including the well-known incident at the Shatura power facility. Analysts later noted that Russia's energy grid around the capital was designed with redundancy, but it had never been tested under sustained, targeted attacks. When the Shatura substation was hit, crews had struggled for nearly a full day to connect a hospital to alternative heating. Mobile generators had to be deployed to residential districts, revealing the system's limits. Now, with yet another strike hitting near the capital, residents reported rolling blackouts across several neighborhoods. By 7 p.m., anger and confusion spread on Russian social media. Some residents asked why the supposedly impenetrable ring around Moscow had been breached again. Others posted videos from Crimea, where more than 150 Ukrainian drones had reportedly entered the peninsula simultaneously. Witnesses there described attacks on refineries, power stations, and military bases, noting fires burning across multiple sites. One military blogger claimed defenses were shooting drones with bare hands, a phrase that captured the desperation of the moment. rather than the reality. The scale of these simultaneous attacks suggested a coordinated Ukrainian strategy: degrade Russia's internal energy grid while forcing its air defenses to spread thin across vast territory. Military analysts explained that long-range drones enable Ukraine to strike infrastructure far from the front line, reducing Russia's ability to sustain its wartime economy. Power facilities, refineries, and processing plants are essential for everything from military logistics to civilian heating. By targeting these systems, Ukraine sought to undermine Russia's ability to maintain basic stability. At 7:20 p.m., additional reports emerged from Belgorod, Kursk, and Bryansk, where residents described a complete loss of electricity and even water shortages. These blackouts showed that Ukraine's strikes were no longer symbolic. They were now reshaping daily life across multiple regions. The pattern suggested not isolated incidents, but repeated, systematic pressure intended to force Russia's domestic systems into failure. Military experts noted that Russia had boasted for years about having a secure and redundant energy grid in Moscow, but interviews with specialists revealed that the system does not have the capacity to compensate for outages caused by targeted, repeated strikes. The capital depends on a network of major power plants arranged along strategic lines. If enough of these plants were disabled, the entire city could be driven into blackout conditions. Analysts warned that such a blackout would immediately paralyze Russia's banking and financial sectors, because nearly all major transactions flow through Moscow. By 7:50 p.m., observers analyzing the day's footage said that Russia's air defense against drones remained unreliable. In several videos, gunners fired long bursts of machine gun fire, yet failed to hit slow-moving aerial targets. Analysts pointed out that Russia's heavy reliance on manually operated guns near civilian districts revealed shortages in more advanced interception systems. At 8:10 p.m., economic experts began discussing the broader implications of Russia's deteriorating internal situation, moving from local blackouts to the wider national balance sheet. They noted that power grid attacks, combined with rapidly rising budget deficits, were straining regional governments. In some areas, residents stood in lines for ration cards, early evidence that shortages were now spreading into civilian supply chains. Others reported the temporary suspension of payments to families of soldiers killed in the war. While federal regulations promised compensation, regional administrations often lacked the resources to pay, revealing the growing gap between official assurances and actual capabilities. By 8:30 p.m., analysts turned to a separate but connected issue: a controversial proposal involving Russia's frozen foreign assets and the broader political price of continued war. The plan, discussed internationally, involved restructuring nearly $200 billion of Russia's reserves locked in Western banks. Experts argued that Russia might agree to surrender these funds in exchange for looser sanctions and political terms more favorable to the Kremlin. Meanwhile, Ukraine expressed alarm at any arrangement that might undermine its sovereignty or reward Moscow despite ongoing strikes on Ukrainian territory. As the evening progressed, commentators pointed out that Russia's internal instability was increasingly visible, not only in blackout maps, but in daily complaints from across the country. Videos circulated of residents in remote regions complaining they lacked water, electricity, or heating. Yet, state media insisted everything was normal. Economists explained that many regional budgets were in deep deficit. Even Moscow, previously considered financially secure, reportedly carried a deficit exceeding hundreds of billions of rubles. In some cases, authorities proposed requiring passports to purchase gasoline, reflecting shortages and growing administrative pressure. These structural failures, experts said, reflected the strain of a 4-year war that Moscow once expected to be brief and limited. Russia had entered the conflict expecting a short operation. Instead, it now faced a grinding war that consumed resources, exposed weaknesses in its infrastructure, and forced authorities to redirect funding away from civilian needs. By 9 p.m., geopolitical analysts warned that the combination of economic strain, energy instability, and uncertain international negotiations was creating an increasingly unstable environment. They argued that Russia could not easily repair its internal systems, even if the war ended tomorrow. The damage to power plants, refineries, and essential facilities required resources that Russia no longer possessed. Oil revenues, previously the backbone of the economy, had decreased significantly. Without these funds, large-scale reconstruction would be nearly impossible. As midnight approached, experts emphasized that Ukraine's strategy appeared to be achieving its intended effect, forcing Russia to divert resources away from the front line while exposing vulnerabilities inside its own territory. By hitting infrastructure essential for daily life, Ukraine was simultaneously undermining public confidence and the state's ability to maintain the war effort. In the end, the events of the day illustrated how a single series of coordinated strikes could expose a country's hidden fractures. Analysts concluded that the combined economic and infrastructural damage, estimated at well over $350 million when assessing destroyed facilities, disrupted energy flows, and emergency responses, placed Russia under unprecedented internal pressure. With Ukraine increasingly capable of reaching deep into Russian territory, the central question is whether Moscow can withstand sustained internal disruption, or whether these strikes will accelerate the collapse of systems the Kremlin once considered unbreakable.